Hey everybody, back with part two. Why part two? Because I got a phone call that came in and cut off part one. I don't know how. I got an iPhone. I don't know why every time you get a phone call and you're shooting video, it is what it is. If anybody knows, let me know in the comments. But how to stop that from happening. However, this is part two. What I was doing is I was just sharing a video because I'm realizing that, some people are newer to crypto. And so I was just kind of sharing a little bit of my thoughts on Cosmos ecosystem and interoperability, and specifically why I think that this is just a major place to, at least for me, to be thinking about. And so getting right back into it, I discussed Cosmos and interoperability, basically where blockchains aren't just stuck in their own little silo by themselves, but now that they're able to actually be connected with one another, and why that's so important. It just seems like the natural evolution. It's like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an analogy, but I mean, who wants to be stuck, right? I mean, who wants to be, stuck in one little sliver, one little portion of something, where, it's like, I don't know, it's just, it's, you want these interconnected highways. You want to be able to roam free. You want to be able to, to do all this stuff seamlessly and effortlessly. And so that's why I think that this is the future going. I think that, again, nothing I say is financial advice. Always do your own research. But as this whole blockchain stuff evolves more and more, right? If we think back to like the internet, when the internet was, early on, you had Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and the difference was like Web 1.0, if you remember, you basically, it was like you could read. It was like read only. You could read the sites, but you couldn't really interact with it, right? So, it was nice. You could like get news and stuff like this, but you couldn't you had to wait for Web 2.0, the next evolution, where you could now start to interact with like social medias and, Facebooks and Twitters and all this. And now we're in the Web 3, right, where there's an internet of value. There's actually, tangible, real world, stores of value, money being transferred over the internet in safe and transparent, most of the time, way with blockchain. And so it seems to me that having a seamless experience, between all of the, I would think that all of the blockchains, I don't know if that will be the future, if every blockchain, will be interconnected somehow, some way, shape, or form. But I think for the user experience, people want what they want. They want what they want fast. They want what they want now, and they don't want to have to worry about all these different protocols, all these different wallets, all these different switching back and forths, right? So I think that, what Cosmos is doing is definitely, very, very unique and much needed now. Now, if you look back, this was something that, like in the last bull run, 2016, 2017, there weren't that many altcoins, right? You had Bitcoin around for a while. You had some altcoins, but even like Ethereum, Ethereum's not that old. So you didn't have maybe the necessity back then as maybe, you do now. And when there's a need in the marketplace, and solutions can be filled, it can, these can be very, very powerful solutions. So Cosmos has done this. I mentioned Juno. Juno is the layer 1, so this allows smart contracts to be built on top of it. And then I was, just as I got cut off in part 1, I was talking about Osmosis, which Osmosis right now is one of the top DEXs. That's decentralized exchange. And that's so you can swap one token for another token in the Cosmos ecosystem, right? As long as it's listed on there, right? Not all of them are listed, but, there's more and more always being listed on Osmosis. But you don't have to worry about, well, what chain am I on, or what, you're switching here and there. You're able to, swap some Atom for some Juno or whatever you want. So I want to talk about, let's see. And decentralized exchange, by the way, for folks, if you're new, think of it as it's like an exchange, but it's not owned by any company. It's owned by the network. It's owned by, in these cases, it's owned by the stakeholders. It's owned by the actual holders of the token and the stakers. if you don't know what staking is, that's what I want to talk about quickly next, is because getting into, so just focusing, trying to keep it simple, just focusing on Cosmos, which the native token for Cosmos is Atom, ATOM. Then you have the Juno network, Juno token, and the Osmosis DEX we talked about, where you can, swap for other tokens, you can actually add liquidity, etc. And that's the Osmo token. But I want to talk about what staking is, and specifically something huge, at least in terms of governance, is happening right now. And if you don't know what I'm talking about and you want to look into it, this might be like a crash course in crypto governance. And I think it's a very interesting time. This is very interesting. So I'm going to get right into it. So in crypto, you have all these different blockchains, and different blockchains reach what's called consensus, and they have different consensus mechanisms. Like Bitcoin is a proof of work. You've probably heard of people using miners, and all this GPU, computer power. They solve really hard mathematical problems, and then if you solve it, you get rewarded, for validating transactions, and you get a little bit more Bitcoin as a reward for doing that. And these are Bitcoin miners, and that's proof of work. Now, Ethereum is also I was talking, and then Siri all of a sudden popped up and I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Can you say that again? So, all right, Siri, I'll say that again. Ethereum is also currently proof of work, but they will be transitioning to proof of stake. And so that's what I'll talk about here today. What is proof of stake? Why is it potentially light years better? Now, there's other consensus, mechanisms out there. I'm not going to go into the other ones here in this video, but just know that, there's more than just proof of work and proof of stake. But so proof of stake, instead of having, doing what Bitcoin does with all those computer miners and, wasting a lot of electricity and all that to solve complicated math problems, proof of stake secures the network by people who own the token and staking it. So how do you do that? So for instance, if you want to, say you buy the Atom token, right? Because you like Cosmos or whatever, you want to somehow be a part of it. And you have Atom in your Keplr wallet, Keplr. It's kind of like the MetaMask, but it's for, you're going to use it for the Cosmos ecosystem. You could then stake your Atom. Now, you would stake it, you would have to choose to delegate to a validator, right? So the validators are, a lot of times these are people that have a little bit more, technical skills. They know what they're doing and how to set that up. But you're delegating your vote basically to them. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. So by doing that, you're helping not only secure the network, but you're also able to vote on governance proposals, and you can vote on how, the Cosmos ecosystem, or if you're doing, another for Juno, you could, if you hold Juno and you stake Juno in the Keplr wallet, then you can vote on these proposals to help, hopefully move the ecosystem or that blockchain along. So what's very interesting is when you stake, you'll earn some rewards, and it's, kind of think of it just kind of like passive income, and you can claim those rewards, and it's just you're earning more of that token. Depends on what the APR is at the time, but that's a small portion, but you are earning rewards by staking. Whereas if you're not staking, you're just holding that token in your wallet and not staking, you're not earning rewards. Okay, so you just own the token, but you don't get the staking rewards. And by staking, you're allowed to vote in governance. And so what I want to talk about, because this is so interesting, especially if you're newer to crypto, when you are able to vote on governance, think of think of the USA, right? The experiment that is the Democratic Republic, right? The lowercase d, lowercase r, Democratic Republic, right? The US has a system where we're not a pure democracy, right? Because not everybody votes directly. What do? We vote for representatives who then vote maybe on our behalf, maybe not. So that's a democratic republic. But in terms of, I'm going to use Juno, and if you are new and you want to look this up, right now it's happening, and you can actually go probably place a vote before the voting period ends. There's something called Prop 16, Proposal 16, and this is very, very interesting because, it scratches my head on what does this all mean and how secure, are your funds really? Like, so here's in a nutshell what is happening. So when Juno launched, right? I said Juno was a layer one, it allows for smart contracts. It launched, and when it launched, there was an airdrop. So free tokens were given, free Juno tokens were given to Atom stakers. So people that were staking Atom at the time, there was a snapshot, kind of like a picture taken. And if you had a certain number of Atom at the time, you were given these Juno for free. Now, there was supposed to be a limit, right? There was supposed to be that the limit was 50,000, I think, Atom per wallet. You wouldn't get, and then you'd get, whatever the equivalent amount of Juno you were going to get. But what happened is there was this one major account that, and I guess they turned out to be a fund, where for whatever reason, maybe, to diversify, to help protect their own holdings, maybe they gamed the system. But this was a very large player that had a lot of Atom. Instead of putting it all into one account and then just getting, the smaller amount of Juno because of the cap, they spread it out into like 50 something accounts. And so now they got these free airdrops, these large airdrops like 50 something times over. And so now they've become a super large player in the Juno ecosystem. They own maybe 10% of all the tokens out there. So what raises the question is when folks found out that this happened, there was alarm because, they gamed the system. They took advantage of, they were supposed to only get, a certain number of Juno, but they spread it out. So they got it that Juno times 50 something. And people felt like that's just wrong and blah, 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 blah. And now there's a proposal, Prop 16, to actually, let's maybe take that guy's funds away, or let's slash his funds, or let's move them, invest them so he can't access them and he can't sell them. And this is where governance of blockchain comes into being, and why I find this is so interesting. I was listening to, there was an interview this morning between Marcin, Marcin, and this other guy. He's a deaf user, the Frey, Frey, and they were just discussing like the pros and cons. And if you really want to look more into this, you can go Google that and check that out. But it shows to me how it raises a lot of questions, because how vulnerable a blockchain can be, and how safe are your funds really if a group of people just later down the road could just take them away like that. And I could imagine that that would disincentivize if there's no security of wallets, right? Like if I can't trust that the money that I have either invested or that I've gotten sent to me or that I've gotten through airdrops, if I can't be sure that who's going to protect me. It's not like right now these aren't like FDIC insured. It's not like these are like I don't know if this is against any laws of what trying to take this guy's funds away, but it just poses the question. It's like, in one sense, I don't know. It wasn't like, it's not like it was illegal what this guy did. It's not like it was illegal to have all that money in the first place. You could say, well, the argument is, well, the developers for Juno, the ones that, set up this airdrop, maybe they should have seen this coming and put in safeguards, and maybe they didn't. Is this free enterprise? Is it just, should we just allow, big whales, to come in? I don't know. This is why I'm bringing this up, because I don't know if there's a real good answer. I have my thoughts on it. To me personally, it's a tricky one, because I understand both sides, right? Like if you have too much power in one hand, right? It's not decentralized. It goes against a lot of what like Cosmos and even most of blockchain and crypto, enthusiasts and believers believe in. But at the same time, I mean, who is one person or one group of people to limit, the activities or the wealth of other people? And so, I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, just looking right now, it does look like the vast majority of the people are going to vote yes for Prop 16, which means that they are going to do something with this guy's funds. Whether or not they're going to slash them, burn them, vest them, I don't know. But, and what recourse, if any, does this guy or this, whale's funds have, outside of the Juno governance? It's just so interesting. And unfortunately, it shows you how it seems like the rule of the mob. And, that's why, like, when I look at, like, going back to the USA, we in our system, if you go back and you read why we have a democratic republic and not just a pure democracy, it's because the founding fathers, and if you read, like, the Federalist Papers, and, you go through and, you read, like, I don't know if it was, maybe it's Federalist Paper number 10 or something. I think it was James Madison wrote, that, we were afraid of the rule of the mob, or the rule of the uneducated, where you could basically have, just a majority of people that could just overturn or overthrow government. And so that's why the compromise was not to have pure democracy. It was to have republic, representatives, where people voted for representatives, and that the hope is that representatives would be a check, that the representatives would be, maybe more in tune, or maybe more full-time, or have more, have a better understanding of issues that they were voting on, rather than just leaving it to the people. And, that's so when I think about, like, blockchain governance, and, that's why I'm shooting this video, because, this happens in a lot of other, blockchains. So it isn't just, Juno, but to me, Juno right now is maybe, on CoinGecko. If you don't know CoinGecko, it lists all of, like, the tokens and their prices and their market caps. But it's, it's like a maybe maybe number 60, right? And Atom's, much less than that. It's much bigger. But for a newer blockchain, it's already $1 billion plus market cap. And with the potential that maybe it does have, what do you do? I mean, there's talks of maybe you hard fork and you just start over. You start the chain over. Is that fair? And so, but again, like, the way, to me, it comes down to, like, confidence, because nobody's going to want to be involved in a project if they can't be confident that, that their funds are secure, and that their funds are. So this is going to be a very interesting precedent. And, I think what was suggested is, after Prop 16, you'll probably have to have another Prop, like 17 for, okay, now what do we do now? What do we actually do next to implement this? And so, yeah, if you're watching this video and you want to actually be involved in real time, you have a shot where you could, be voting on, at least, say at this point, maybe, a little bit of piece of blockchain history, just by staking Juno in a Keplr wallet and voting on governance. And, and what I've also, just on a side note, we talk about airdrops, right? Like free money, free coins, that go to stakers. But sometimes there's even further incentives for not just stakers, but stakers who actually vote on governance proposals, because it shows that you're even a more active participant in the network. And so sometimes projects reward for that as well. So, yeah, it's Prop 16 looks like it's going to pass. It's very, very interesting. Personally, I don't know what stops somebody, I'm just saying, if you did have a large fund, like, let's say right now you had $200 million and I know you probably couldn't go out and buy that many tokens on the market, because there's probably not as much liquidity to do so. So if you don't know what liquidity means, is, when you want to buy and sell something, the buyer has to actually find a seller, right? So if there's nobody there to sell, there's nothing to buy. So, things like Bitcoin have, pretty high liquidity, but some other tokens have very, various degrees of liquidity, and different exchanges, have different liquidity. So it doesn't usually affect most people or smaller, smaller folks, but for larger folks, if the liquidity isn't there, either you can't enact that trade, you can't do it, or you have something called slippage, which like the price you impact, because you want to buy something, you're impacting the price so much that by the time you're trying to put in all these orders, I mean you're bidding yourself up almost. So that's Prop 16. Anyways, that's the video for today. I'm shooting this video just to kind of get in the mind of what I'm thinking about, at least this week in blockchain and why. And so for anybody new, if you're out there, to me personally, I think this is a great place to start, because I remember when I was looking into, this whole space, like where do you start? I mean, I started with Bitcoin because that was basically, there wasn't a whole lot more. But as I started with Bitcoin, then I realized, okay, now there's Ethereum. Okay, that's, smart contracts. Oh, what are the possibilities there? Oh, well, that's a layer 1. And then I started to realize, okay, now there's other layer 1s. Okay, but then there's scaling issues, right? They're not all scaling, the same. So then you had layer 2s on top of these for trying different scaling. And then I realized, okay, but they're all kind of in their own silos. They don't talk to one another. You can't move. That's where interoperability and Cosmos comes about. I just think Cosmos is an interesting place to look at. I'm not saying that it will be there, that this will be the only player in the game. I think it will still have issues, like any project is going to have issues moving forward, and how can you adapt and how can you stay competitive. When you do start to have a lot of transactions on the network, can you scale that? I mean, at some point, Cosmos is probably going to have to start to think about some of those solutions, or at least the blockchains that are within the ecosystem, should we come to that. And I'll just leave it on this, because for somebody that's new, I talk a lot about on this channel TrueBit protocol. And right now it seems like it's like this huge hidden gem that just flies under the radar. Most people, I don't even think, know what it is, and the people that do know what it is, like myself, probably really don't know what it is, because it seems like it's so complex but so integral to all of blockchain. And so if you're just learning, there's maybe I'll shoot another video of like, I don't know, let me know if you like this content and you want, maybe I can shoot like a top 10 of, the top 10 things that I would learn or focus, my time, if it was my first month in crypto or something like that, if that would help, because there's so much out there. There's so many shiny objects. And, if you're going into it, like, and you want to make money, who doesn't, right? You're getting pulled in every single direction, and, but there's so much out there, and how do you know what's real? How do you know it's a scam? How do you know what's actually is what it is, and get to the bottom of it? So, and that sometimes it just takes time. It takes a little bit of experience. I mean, I'm learning stuff every single day, every single week, continually. Looking back on my journey, I definitely realized, putting in the work, and educating, myself, I could definitely see that it does pay off. You gain perspective. It's just, but I wouldn't have known where to start, because not only do you have the financial aspects to all this, you have the technology. I mean, this is a technological revolution. That's what blockchain is. And then you've got the philosophy behind it. Like, I used to call blockchains, and still do, it's kind of like putting trust in a trustless system. This is so interesting, where technology is enabling interactions between two people, and you don't even have to know or care really who's on the other side, because the technology, if it's done right and implemented correctly, it does that for you. And so it's just, there's a lot, so the philosophy of what blockchain technology could be. Then you've got governance, right? You can think about this stuff like, well, what does this actually mean for humans? Like, how do we take our current structures and move them, to this new technological age? You've got to talk about cybersecurity. This is a whole brand new world, and we're still looking to see where regulation and governments kind of, meld in this, so that people can, more and more people and institutions can feel, more comfortable and more safe and secure with. So we're very early, in this whole arena, and it's very exciting. And so, there's just so much out there. And so if it were, me, like I said, maybe if you guys want, let me know, maybe I can do like a top 10, just things that maybe I would focus on, my first month in crypto, if I was starting afresh now, like knowing what I know now. And I guess I'll leave with this is, I've often heard it said, I think Ray Dalio, I heard him say this, the other day in a video, and his principles of success, he was saying, why should I be in a position to tell anybody else what to do, when I barely even know what to do myself? And he says, not that but he's doing it. I'm glad that he does it, right? I don't think he's doing it to be arrogant or pompous. I think he's doing it to truly help people. And the one thing that he focuses on from the get-go is that he believes that, it's not his knowing of things that have actually helped him. He believes it's his not knowing. It's understanding that there's so much more that he doesn't know that have probably even helped him even further, come up with a, a philosophy, a grand scope of how he thinks and learns and navigates the world. And so, with that being said, obviously everybody has to figure out, this for themselves, and we all have our own, life journeys and our own, experiences, and, as do I. I mean, that's why, my experience is going to be different than somebody's experience, starting, afresh. My experience, I had some, background in finance and stuff, technology and stuff like this, that others maybe won't have. And so, but maybe they'll have a different experience. Maybe they'll have, just a life experience where they learn something that they'll never forget. And, now it's going to make a little bit more sense in a different scenario, or a different, a whole different, landscape, that we are here. But anyways, that's all, folks. I really hope that this video helps you. I'm going to continue on with my day, and thanks for sticking around. If you like the video, definitely, like this. If you want to share it with other people, maybe, like I said, I tried to shoot these 2 videos kind of for folks that maybe are a little bit newer, but I mean, who knows, that maybe this is, helping, folks, even if you've been, around the block, or you've been in crypto for a while. So, whoever this might benefit, I'm glad to hear that. And, if you want to be subscribed to the channel, and you have any ideas or, feedback, pros, cons, critiques, stuff that you like to hear, stuff that you maybe want to hear, let me know in the comments. And, together it's the dream work, because it's teamwork. How's that? Because the teamwork makes the dream work, baby. Woo! All right. See you later, folks. I hope you have an awesome day. Go outside, get some sunshine, eat something healthy, and maybe take a walk or do some exercise. Peace. See you later, guys. Awesome.